Throughout history, humans have searched for the keys to wealth. Not just riches and gold, but the kind of prosperity that lasts across generations. And while modern finance books promise secrets to success, the oldest wisdom often holds merit, buried in ancient scrolls, carved into stone, or wrapped inside parables told thousands of years ago. These hidden wealth codes are time-tested financial philosophies, subtly shaping the systems we live by today. This is the Money Compendium, where we decode the forgotten, the unusual, and the powerful stories of money. And today, we're unlocking 10 ancient wealth codes from history's oldest texts, each with a story, a lesson, and a powerful takeaway that's still relevant today. Number 1. The Code of Hammurabi, Interest Limits and Debt Forgiveness. Let's start in Babylon, around 1754 BCE. The Code of Hammurabi wasn't just a list of laws, it was a moral framework for justice and economics. Etched into stone were rules governing loans, collateral, and interest. The code limited interest rates to 33% on loans of grain and 20% for silver. That may sound high today, but it was revolutionary for its time, placing caps on greed in a system that could have easily become predatory. Even more intriguing, debts were often canceled during a jubilee year, protecting the poor from generational financial ruin. This ancient economic justice system recognized that society functions best when debt doesn't become a trap, a concept we still struggle with today. Imagine living in a society where debt resets every few years. Now jump to another empire with a radically different view of wealth, where money wasn't just for survival but for shaping your soul. Number 2. Proverbs of Solomon, Wisdom over Wealth. Found in the Hebrew Bible and revered by Jews, Christians, and scholars alike, the Proverbs of Solomon contain timeless nuggets of financial insight. Written around the 10th century BCE, many of these sayings emphasize that wealth without wisdom is dangerous. The rich rule over the poor, and the borrower is servant to the lender, reads Proverbs 22:7, a brutal truth about debt that's still playing out today through credit cards, mortgages, and payday loans. Other verses talk about hard work, honest scales, and the dangers of quick riches. These weren't just religious teachings, they were behavioral finance rules ahead of their time. So, if Solomon warned about fast money, what happens when a civilization makes saving a sacred duty? Let's head east. Number 3. The Arthashastra, Ancient India's Manual of Wealth and Statecraft. Written in the 4th century BCE by Chanakya, a philosopher, teacher, and political advisor. The Arthashastra is one of the most comprehensive economic texts from the ancient world. It detailed how rulers should manage everything from taxation and trade to land distribution and espionage. One of its biggest wealth principles? Diversification. Chanakya advised kings, and indirectly everyone else, to avoid putting all resources in one industry or revenue stream. He also emphasized the importance of skilled labor and fair wages, economic advice that predates Adam Smith by nearly 2,000 years. In the Arthashastra, wealth wasn't just personal. It was the foundation of national stability. India had spreadsheets before spreadsheets existed. But now, let's visit a desert people whose wealth code is written in stories, not numbers. Number 4. Parables from the Talmud, Seeds, Time, and Stewardship. The Talmud, a vast collection of Jewish oral laws and commentary compiled between 200 and 500 CE, is filled with economic metaphors. One recurring theme is stewardship, the idea that wealth isn't owned, it's borrowed. One famous story tells of a man planting a carob tree, which wouldn't bear fruit for 70 years. When asked why, he replied, "Just as my ancestors planted for me, I plant for my children." This isn't just a sweet story. It's a lesson in generational wealth and long-term thinking. The Talmud also delves into fair wages, honest business practices, and the spiritual value of giving, showing that money, when handled with care, can elevate both the individual and the community. Delayed gratification might be the oldest money hack of all. But what happens when an empire turns saving and frugality into a national philosophy? Number 5. Confucian Teachings, duty, savings, and social harmony. Confucius, the Chinese philosopher of the 5th century BCE, didn't write financial manuals, but his teachings shaped China's views on wealth for millennia. In Confucian philosophy, financial stability was tied to moral virtue. A person should live within their means, honor their family with responsible money management, and prioritize community well-being over personal luxury. Thrift and savings were considered signs of wisdom and self-respect. This ideology helped shape centuries of Chinese dynastic governance and even modern habits around savings rates in East Asia. Confucius didn't just preach harmony, he made it economic policy, from harmony to hustle. Our next ancient text comes from a merchant people who believed wealth wasn't about stillness, but motion. Number 6. The Merchant Scrolls of Phoenicia. Trade, risk, and early capitalism. The Phoenicians, based in modern-day Lebanon, were master traders around 1200 BCE. While we don't have a single sacred Phoenician economic text, their merchant scrolls and ledgers reveal a lot. These early capitalists pioneered contracts, standardized weights, and international trade networks. They used writing systems not just for poetry, but for tracking inventory and profit margins. One scroll found near Byblos details joint investment ventures and shipping profits. Basically, ancient venture capital. Their hidden wealth code? Risk management. Phoenicians would often split cargo among ships to avoid total loss, a lesson every modern investor still needs. So while the Phoenicians traded cedar and dye, they also traded ideas. But what if your wealth was measured not in coin, but in karma? Number 7. The Dhammapada. Wealth as a test of character. Buddhist philosophy, particularly the Dhammapada, a compilation of sayings from the Buddha dating to around the 3rd century BCE, has a unique take on wealth. Money itself isn't evil. Desire and attachment are. The teachings warn that wealth gained through unethical means brings suffering, while money used for generosity, compassion, and enlightenment becomes a spiritual tool. There's a story of a wealthy merchant who loses everything, only to find peace when he becomes a monk. The core message? Wealth is a mirror. It reflects what's already inside of you. If Buddha warned us about ego and greed, what would he say about Instagram? Let's get back to the West for a text that mixes war and wealth. Number 8. Sun Tzu's The Art of War. Strategy, patience, and resource control. You wouldn't expect a military manual to offer wealth advice, but Sun Tzu's Art of War, written around the 5th century BCE, is full of it. He who knows when to fight and when not to fight will win. Translated into money terms, pick your battles. Sun Tzu emphasized preparation, deception, resource control, and timing, all essential to both warfare and investing. Modern business leaders, hedge fund managers, and CEOs often cite The Art of War as a guide not just to conflict, but to strategy. It's proof that wealth isn't always about working harder. It's about thinking smarter. War, peace, savings, and karma. What do they all have in common? They shaped how ancient societies understood value. Now let's visit one more desert-dwelling civilization who turned grain into currency and savings into survival. Number 9. Ancient Egyptian wisdom, Mayat, grain banks, and economic order. Ancient Egypt wasn't just pyramids and pharaohs. It had one of the world's first centralized economic systems. At its core was Mayat, the principle of cosmic order. Economy was part of that order. Temples acted as banks, and grain was the primary currency. The pharaoh's storehouses distributed food during famines, a system that made Egypt more resilient than other empires. Scribes recorded debts and transactions on papyrus scrolls, enforcing financial accountability. Egyptian wisdom taught that prosperity came from aligning with natural rhythms, planting in season, saving in surplus, and giving during famine. They didn't just build pyramids, they built savings accounts. But our last text might be the most mysterious of all. Written in riddles, encoded in verse, and studied by emperors and billionaires alike. Number 10. The Tao Te Ching, flow, minimalism, and the wealth of non-strivings. Attributed to Laozi in the 6th century BCE, the Tao Te Ching is one of the most enigmatic spiritual texts ever written. But buried in its poetic lines is a countercultural wealth philosophy. He who knows he has enough is rich. The Tao warns against overreaching, overworking, and over-owning. It champions flow, balance, and harmony. In modern terms, it's the blueprint for minimalist living and anti-consumerism. Steve Jobs reportedly studied it. Billionaires quote it without realizing it's telling them to chill. The Tao teaches that true wealth isn't about adding more. It's about removing what doesn't serve you. From stone tablets to spiritual scrolls, these ancient texts weren't just about law or religion, they were handbooks for prosperity. And while our currencies, technologies, and economies have evolved, the core lessons haven't changed. Track your debt. Diversify your risks. Think in decades. Spend with intention. And never forget that wealth, without wisdom, is just a fancier form of failure. This has been the Money Compendium. Thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.